Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Greatest Media Podcast. Hope you guys are having a great day. Right, we're gonna give you guys some current event topics going on this fine week, and influence you guys on some good topics. Give you some credible sources and support to those sources. It's me, PK here. Who am I here with?
Bones.
Of course. I say we jump right into this topic to not waste any of your precious time. What do you guys say? Number one, all right, we're going to talk about the oil, oil as a whole. I think you guys all know oil is an issue right now. There's a massive under pressure for the global supply of oil, mostly growing because of the conflict going on in the Middle East. We'll talk about the more conflict going on later in the podcast with Iran, United States, and Israel. You guys know the drill. Bones, do you have an issue with oil supply in your day-to-day life as of recently?
I do. I believe statistically, gas prices have gone up to upwards of $1.50 in some places. Um, Here in the beautiful state of Ohio, we're up by about $1, which is really tragic to a lot of people's lives. We're going to see a trend in people using alternative forms of transportation and carpooling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more biking and walking because the gas is getting a little too expensive. Not a lot of people can afford to fill up a tank if these prices keep going up.
That is true, actually. Recent news, actually, as they're recording this, they're actually talking about putting more E15 into national gas pumps, right? So I don't know if you guys know, like in gas, there's like around 10% ethanol, right? And they want to increase it to 15%, which kind of is like in a more simpler way of saying it. It's a watering down your gas, so we're gonna be starting to have less miles per gallon to cut down on the fuel, make it feel cheaper, in a sense, but really it's going to be not doing as much if you really think about it because you're going to keep going back to the gas station now. It's a whole thing going on. No one's really liking it. Apparently on the media, actually, everybody's really hating the decision. I think there's actually, I don't know if you did any of the research on this, Bones. Did you find like any sources you want to add to that? Or
I
like
did
just in
actually.
oil in general?
I did. I found a source by the U.S. Energy Information Administration, the EIA.
Mm-hmm.
The article's short-term energy outlook for April 2026. I got a quote. Brent crude oil prices are expected to remain above $95 a barrel through May, driven by a persistent risk premium as transit through the Strait of Hormuz remains contested. The EIA notes that although OPEC agreed on March 1st to increase production by 206,000 barrels per day, starting today, April 1st, this is barely enough offset shut-in production from Iraq and Kuwait.
Wow. So that's OPEC was actually supposed to like. Sorry, someone fell. Um, like OPEC was like supposed to like not do the ethanol thing when I was talking about actually previously, where they were talking about like I said the ethanol part, right? They were saying that they don't want to do that, right, for like years now, or like a couple of years. They've been just saying they don't want to do that because it's like not worth it and it's not efficient, and then they cave in to cater to us. But in it all, I do think I think the future of oil as a whole, if this like, the conflict going on in the Middle East doesn't improve a little bit, we're going to be seeing some hefty like impact and consequences on, the citizens and the government. They're going to probably be prospecting through all this anyway. And especially those, the oil companies, they are having a thrill of an income right now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, actually. Trying to think if there was like a moment where like Trump was talking about this. Oh, I actually did. Trump was talking in one of like a meeting. I think I saw on Twitter or something. Where he was tweeting about it. He was like, he's happy that oil prices are where they are right now because he thought they would be like way higher or something like that. And I'm like, And so he knows how bad they are. This, but he thought it was gonna be even worse. So I don't know if that's like a
Wow.
pro or a con, but you guys take
I
it
feel
as
like
a
it's a
will.
little bit of both.
I think so too.
Personally.
We can go on and on about the oil though, but I think we should move on to the next topic, the economy and the stock market. Now, I don't know if anybody really follows either of these. I mean, you guys should, but we all have stuff to do in our lives. But because of the recent Donald Trump, all of his what he's been doing in the Middle East, Israel in conflict and all that. It's kind of crazy how in the last few years it went from Ukraine and Russia to the Middle East, lovely as it is. But in terms of the stock market, it's in the last few months because of this war, the like the S&P 500, Nasdaq, everything that like goes off the U.S. economy has been like was plummeting for a good few months. Like it was really, really bad. It dropped. The S&P 500 specifically dropped 6.7%, which is S&P 500 has been around for a while, and 6.7% is pretty low. For a 6-7 drop, especially because gasoline is now averaging $3.98 a gallon. Bones, I think you actually told me the other day you had a quote, something like similar to based off what we're talking about.
I actually do have a quote from the Wells Fargo Investment Institute and S&P Global Quarter 2 2026 forecast. That's the title of it. The quote is, "We anticipate the U.S. economy will gather momentum. As AI develops from a concentrated technology phenomenon into a broad-based economic growth catalyst." Yeah, S&P Global projects a 2.2 GDP growth for 2026. However, they warn the supply-driven oil shock could push headline inflation toward 4% in the short term, complicating the Federal Reserve's plans on interest rate cuts.
I did not know Wells Fargo did all this. It's actually incredible what a banking institution does. I mean, all around, the S&P is a very important thing in our day-to-day lives as it is effectively our future in the economy. It really is like testing out how good the US market is, and it should be at always improving. I mean, as of recently, obviously it has not been pretty on the side of stagflation, but I think in the near future after this war our economy is going to prosper again and we can finally start affording some groceries. What do you say, man?
Hopefully the day comes where I can buy a house and get some groceries and not have to worry about money.
Exactly. Now there is a lot more on the topic on AI side, but I feel like we've talked about so much AI on these podcasts. I think we're just gonna move right past that. What do you guys say?
I think that's a good idea.
Now, this is a bigger topic as it is technically a right now situation and could impact. This is really more of like a world thing impacting, especially for the world. Is the U.S. and Israel and Iran war? Now, there is talks, especially with Trump recently, actually in the past day or two, saying that they're actually coming to a close on a more of a ceasefire type deal. Bones, I feel like you know more about this. I'm gonna let you take off.
So yeah, Trump's been going over the ceasefire for quite a long time, and it's impossible to tell if it will actually work out because, as the short-term history has proven, a lot of the times he talks about a ceasefire, it never gets past that. It never gets past bringing it up because you know uh, it's been a lot of flip flop between people's words, and I don't think this is going to. It could, but I doubt that this will go any further than ceasefire talks. Realistically, it could, though. This could go beyond, and we could see a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. If it doesn't, it's possible we could expect an invasion, United States invasion, putting our troops into Iran, fighting for Israel. Think about that however you want, but the truth is, we have deployed troops on many U.S. naval ships, including the Boxer and many of our aircraft carriers. And so it's possible we could be seeing a United States assault on either Iran owned islands or a mainland invasion of Iran in the upcoming months, possibly.
To also support how also like talking about the Americans aren't supporting this. There was what was it, a survey I remember seeing. I think it was by Reuters or someone of such, right? They were doing it was like a resume or survey. I don't know how many people they did to sample size this, but according to the thing, they said 66% of Americans want to end the conflict going on in Iran, even if the goals aren't even fully met. They just want to end it, hash it out, and leave because it's, in their words, not any of our business. Which, in some way, they are kind of right. I mean, this isn't really shouldn't be affecting us as a country and as a nation. I did actually see, or was it? I think it was like some popular news that they were talking about. It was like headlining all over the place. Do you remember if it was CBS or was it Fox?
It was CBS News.
Okay, let me look. Yeah, it was right here. They quoted President Trump stated operations in Iran could wrap up in 2 weeks, maybe three, even as Iranian drones targeted fuel tanks in Kuwait's international airport this morning. Now it's kind of crazy to think that this war could actually be wrapped up in a few weeks, even though current right now, even as we're talking, there's probably fighting and bombing going on as we speak, which is honestly insane. But despite Trump's optimism, Iran's foreign minister stated today that there are no grounds for negotiations. Furthermore, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard has explicitly threatened to target 18 leading U.S. technology firms, like Google, Meta, and everything else that we use on a day to day basis if targeted assassinations continue. So it shows like there's parties that want to finish this off, they want to conclude it, and then parties that don't think it can conclude yet. Do you think, personally, at a personal level, do you think this war can be wrapped up in a few weeks?
That is all up to Iranian officials. We could see a ceasefire very, very shortly, but again, I doubt it will happen with these terms that Trump is giving to Iran. I feel like I feel like the terms are unjust because I do think this is just the kind of conflict that we should stay out of. We do not need another Operation Desert Storm or an Operation during Enduring Freedom. We don't need what happened in 2001 and 2014. The United States does not need to get wrapped up in the Middle East again. It's as simple as that. This is not our war to fight in and participate in. We should leave it for them to hash out. Um, if people die, people are going to die. Whatever happens, happens. But I don't want Americans dying over something that does not concern us at all. It's on the other side of the world. Personally, I think we should be saving our people. We should be putting our people first, Americans, instead of sending our soldiers to die in the Middle East for something that we aren't even 100% certain about. The whole thing about Iran is that we're trying to stop them from making nuclear weapons, but we do not know if that's the case. It could be the same thing with Afghanistan, where there were no nuclear weapons in Afghanistan, but we still sent soldiers there anyway. And it was a devastating loss for the United States because we wasted our time and resources fighting the Taliban and all these other terrorists, like there's Al Qaeda, the Taliban, and we ended up just giving them our weapons and our equipment in the long run because we couldn't finish what we started. We just couldn't. And I think that's what's going to happen here if we do end up going to another pointless war in Iran over nuclear weapons that may or may not exist. This is a big gamble for Trump. If the nuclear weapons don't exist and we do end up going to a war over this, then I think it will destroy the people's trust in any ongoing conflict between anything that the United States wants to sink its teeth into, especially in the Middle East. I don't think we'll ever get another war in the Middle East if that happens. Even if it is something that we do need to do, I just don't think it would ever happen because of how tragic this would be as another loss for America.
Speaking on all this topic, this actually perfectly segues into our next topic of the day, which is Trump's approval rating. Now, everything we talked about really does factor into his approval rating. Have you seen how like low it's gone recently?
I actually have, yeah.
Literally, if you guys just take a second and Google, literally just Google Trump's approval rating, every single headline just talks about how it's like super low, like some of the lowest you've seen in recent like presidencies. I'm
Yeah, do
actually
we have
looking. I'm looking at my notes right now. I feel like it's someone said it.
yeah, do we have a source from CNN?
Let me look. Yeah, actually, we do. Do you wanna speak on that? Or do you want me to speak on it?
I think you got that one.
All right. Well, CNN's national poll quotes this specifically that President Trump's approval rating for handling the economy has fallen to a new career low of 31%. 31%. Data from UMass Amherst, which is a university, shows a 20-point drop among working class voters since April 2025. Roughly 62% of Americans now disapprove of the administration's performance, citing inflation and tariffs as the primary drivers of the disapproval. Now, we all know Trump came into this presidency talking about lowering inflation, making all the like egg prices cheaper and all these things, and he hasn't really met them. It felt like he was on the way, but was never like there in some capacity. I don't know if you've noticed that. Like it's like every time it looked like it was getting lower, like gas prices. You've noticed like last year they've significantly dropped. Like it was pretty good. It was starting to look good, right? The money was looking good, and then all of a sudden, because of like the recent months, it's like all that work that they was like chipping away at just completely was useless in the end. I don't know if you've seen anything like that.
I have.
I just do think that in approval rating, it's more on the people and how it affects their day to day lives, and not some like global conflict going on. So with all the conflict going on in the Middle East and not really caring for the citizens and targeting towards the American life, people are not gonna like it because most of what they're doing right now has nothing to do with us, right? It's not affecting us in a positive way. It's only negatively impacting our day to day lives, and somewhat like only improving the government in a way, but not like how we're supposed to be living. It's like we were on a track and they just derailed us for some common scuffle going on that had nothing to do with us, as you were talking about. And who knows where this is going to go for Trump's approval rating? It might even be dropping as we speak.
Most likely is with the ongoing conflict.
I do think we should talk about a completely like another completely different like area of expertise than the war in Iran. Let's talk about something more something that's niche in the side. Maybe you guys don't really focus on it as much as the war as it's. But this is a growing epidemic going on. I'm gonna let Mr. Bones take this away on birth rate decline globally and nationally.
Yeah, so right now, I think every country don't take that as a quote, but I believe almost every country has record low fertility ratings. And that mostly comes from the fact that there has always been a war going on since 19 I think 80 since 1980 100. If you were born in the year like 1990, 100% of your life, yeah, I believe most of the world, if not all of it, is experiencing the lowest fertility ratings that we've ever seen. in any time. Particularly the USA and Japan. Japan has been affected with a declining fertility rate for many years because they have such values of elders that they simply just don't have the utilities to be like supporting new families because they have such an infrastructure on um, older people and taking care of elders. It is also happening in the U.S., and I believe this is a growing rise with things like hookup culture and pornography, things like that. And it's really stopping meaningful like relationships forming with people that, and I feel like people are starting too late. They're starting too late to be picking um people to spend their future with. That's not really a thing anymore. Most of the time it's either looks or things like mostly hookups. That's what's been going on in the US for a long time. It's not really long term it's not going to work out. I have a quote here from the Congressional Budget Office, the CBO.
Mm-hmm.
The demographic outlook from 2026 to 2056. So that's a 30-year outlook. My quote is: the total fertility rate is projected to hit 1.58 births per woman in 2026, well below the replacement level of 2.1. What this means is simply we're not making enough children to grow as a nation. We would need to be making at least 2.1, like the article suggests. We need to be making at least 2.1 children per household to, or per couple to statistically make up for the two people that are going to die eventually making that kid. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it's going to stay that way for quite a while. Birth rates may even decline further than this because of things like it also includes a lot of things like people just don't think they're ready for kids because of the war with Iran. The prices keep going up. They don't think they can take care of one children, let alone two, or one child, let alone two children. So I don't know. I think what we're gonna need is, and this could possibly be the thing with the war in Iran. We need something. Something has to happen that really changes everything. We would need either a large scale conflict. Um, we would definitely would need something catastrophic to change this, just like World War II with the baby boom. I think that could happen again if something were to change everybody's way of life. That's what needs to happen. Everybody's way of life needs to be changed. Um, but the only way that would happen would be something catastrophic happening, which I'm not going to say I want to happen, but it would definitely fix this crisis in particular. Um, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's all I have to talk about on this topic. But yeah, it's hard for a lot of people to find someone that they feel comfortable having a kid with, and um, Bones' dating tip of the day.
Yes, of
Never
course.
Bones' dating tip of the day. Don't look for someone that you can stand losing. You want to find someone who you can that you not only you want to have them in your life for quite a long time, you want to have fun with them. You want someone who you won't get bored of. You want someone long term. Always look for that in somebody. And if if something happens where you lose them, then it obviously was not the right person, not the right time, because if you are really meant to have a life together, they wouldn't be able to stand losing you. You wouldn't be able to stand losing them.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's the end of the day. Yeah,
I think it's been pretty influential podcast we did here today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. We're gonna see you guys definitely the next podcast because you guys love us so dearly. And until next time, guys, it's been PK,
and Bones.
and it will always be. Oh, I messed up my chess game.